And yet at the same time, we have to realize that body is a gift of the consciousness, the same way the mind also is a gift of the consciousness. Mind is not an enemy. Only when the mind is allowed to operate on its own without the force of consciousness, without the spiritual connection, that's where the problem is nowadays. Imagine if somebody has a pile of nuclear stockpile and has a mind of a child.
Right.
Imagine what could happen. And that is already happening. So the spiritual connectedness is really the basic importance in our life that it should be. So if you really want to really connect to the higher self, we have to minimize the importance of the body and the mind, but at the same time we have to look at them as the gifts of the consciousness. They are the gifts. They are not our enemies. We have to stop fighting with the mind. Mind wants to do certain things, let it do. The only way it's going to take you if you go along with it. So mind is generating the thoughts, so let it generate the thoughts. That's the job of the mind. If we go along with it, with our full force spiritual connection, meaning follow the thoughts, create the new thoughts, all these things, we are giving the spiritual energy to every single thought, then we are connecting ourselves with the mind. So if the job of the mind is to create thoughts, let it create. That is the only way you're going to start distancing yourself from the mind, that you are not the mind. But we believe we are. And that's where our mistake is. So accept the mind as it is. Do not try to change it. Do not try to modify it. It is a gift from the consciousness. The chanchalta, the instability of the mind, is a beautiful gift given to us from the consciousness. Because from all this restlessness, from all this chanchalta, a lot of new creations are coming out. This creation is all about permutation and combination. Ultimately, the whole structure of the universe is what? Hydrogen, nitrogen, carbon, sulfur, and that's what it is. And from that permutation combination, all these beautiful things are created, right? And all that is a beautiful... So, the mind is an essential component to create something even better or more to come that we don't know, and we have no control on it either. This morning I was meditating in the woods, right? And I just sat there and all the... Ultimately, you just basically, it turns the whole ball, spiritual, the sphere of energy you become. And that energy is continuously entangling itself with the another aspect, and then you open your eyes and you see the beautiful sunrise and the dancing leaves and the tiny butterflies doing this, the mating dance, and they're flying from all that attraction between the opposite sexes, and all these things are happening even at the tiniest level. What does that tell you? Consciousness is continuously creating. Now that we can see at the material level. At the mind level also a lot of things are being created. But who are we? We are not there to interfere with it. We are there only to observe. So our position is to be an observer of the mind. And that's the only way you will be able to go deeper into our higher self. So the problem is that so-called religious people who are caught up in the actions to do this and do that and achieve this and achieve that and trying to look religious and all these things, we are going after the mind. We are trying to satisfy the mind that, oh, if I'm a priest, I have to look like this, I have to dress like this, I have to do certain things so that people believe that I am a priest. You're working for the people. You're not doing it for yourself. If you're wearing such and such clothes, wear it out of what you believe in it. If you're wearing saffron colored robe, believe that the life is going to end, or this is the rising sun. Your color of your clothes should be your internal expression rather than, oh, because I am a sadhu, I have to look like this, I have to talk like this, and I have to grow beard. I'm still waiting, Vijay, for you to
No. I have a wife.
You are not growing because of her.
I'm waiting for him to grow here.
So when
I have a supervisor.
So when we live for other people, we live for, that's how all these cultures are created. Evolution of so-called Hinduism, so-called Christianity, so-called Jainism, all these things are created because of the demands of the people. They define. The moment somebody gives you pays you a respect, that I like certain thing, believe me, your suffering is already started. If somebody comes and praises you, he's already taking an authority that you have to keep doing what you're doing, then we like you. Right?
To be liked.
And in the future, if you default, oh, I thought you were like this, what happened to you? So he said, oh, I'm sorry. I should, your freedom is gone right from the beginning. So when Rajneesh said, it's so beautiful. These are very subtle things. Until we pay attention to these things, our ego is never going to die. Rajneesh says that somebody came and touched my feet. Rajneesh says, please, don't touch my feet. He says, why not? He says, right now, you're praising me. But then, that's going to define my behavior. That I did such and such thing, that's why you're coming and touching my feet. And tomorrow, one thing, I'm going to be expecting more and more people to come and touch my feet. And also, the same person coming in, I might have changed 5 years down the road or 5 days down the road. I will lose my spontaneity. And 5 days later, if I don't feel like doing certain things, I'm going to have to suddenly change myself because you touched my feet. And I'm going to say, well, because I did this, they touched my feet, so I should be changed. I don't want that. I want to remain spontaneous. Consciousness is spontaneous, yes.
Spontaneity and creativity, they go together.
Exactly.
I tell you, there cannot be any creativity.
And creativity is a part of consciousness.
Exactly.
And when we allow that to happen, meaning we do not let anybody else connect ourselves, so-called, and break our connection with the higher self, our demise has already started. And we do not want that to. And that's again thoughts, right? One guy came into Rajneesh, came from a distance. He wanted to learn how to have peace and bliss in our life, right? So he came to learn meditation from Rajneesh and all that. And he was very uncomfortable. And he kept on looking at Rajneesh's shoes. Rajneesh was wearing very expensive shoes. All the time, finally he spent half an hour, 45 minutes. Okay, I'm going to take a leave. He didn't get anything out of Rajneesh, and he says, I don't think you should be wearing these expensive shoes. He says, why? Because you're a sadhu. You should be simple. I said, so Rajneesh says, what difference does it make to you? You came here to learn something about how to reach to the higher self, and all you kept on looking at my expensive shoes. I didn't ask for you. You didn't pay for my shoes. How does it matter? So such a small little things, we keep on paying attention.
Set of ideas.
He says, this guy came and left without getting anything out of our interactions. So it was his loss. I said, what difference does it make? When people start defining your behavior, you catering to them. So mind is a very funny thing. If we give importance to the mind. There was a story of a priest. This is in the older time when Shakespeare's plays used to be played in the theaters, right? Now the Christianity or the priest says that you have to be conservative and this and that and all that. And again, they are conservative because people expect them to be conservative.
Exactly.
Right? So now the priest wanted to go, as the people talk about this place, he wanted to see the play. But he didn't want everybody else to know. Right? So he calls the theater owner that, do you have any side entrance where I can enter from? So that people don't know that I'm watching the play. So the guy responds, he says, yes, for people like you, exactly, we have a side entrance where nobody will notice that you have come to watch the play. But I cannot guarantee whether the God will be watching that or not. So people will not be watching, but I cannot guarantee that God will not be watching. God is always watching. Consciousness is always there. So all these fake things are not necessary. We have to break from all this freedom. And that's the only way we're going to realize that mind is pulling us in all these wrong directions. And again, we don't have to fight with the mind. That is the job of the mind, to connect to the higher, to the outside world. Whenever connections is that is what the mind is meant for. But only when you start observing your mind, you will realize the intricacy. But how are you going to see the intricacies? The change that is happening, you can see the change only when you are not part of the change. Like it's like a kid is lost in a maze. You are standing on the deck where the maze is all set up, and she or he is going crazy trying to get out, sweating, cannot find the way out, and you know the way is right there.
You can see.
You can see it right there. You can say, okay, just make a left and you're out. But you cannot know. If you are going there as a parent, you are going to be lost too. Maze is not simple.
Right.
It's easy to get lost in the maze.
But that separation comes only because of sadhana.
Exactly.
It will
Sadhana
never
is a
come.
practice to realize that you are not the mind. So something that is permanent, something that is infinite, only can define which is finite. Something that is immovable can define what is the movement. The movement is happening only because you are immobile. So you have to realize, you have to reach that state. The sadhana meditation is the only way to reach to that. By doing these so-called spiritual sadhanas, so-called spiritual rituals and this and that, only getting you caught up in the act. And act can never, it's a material thing. Act is a material thing, it can never give you the spiritual benefits. No matter how much you eat, rasgulla or pav bhaji or gulab jambu, is never going to give you, because that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get the satisfaction, some kind of satisfaction. Satisfaction is what? It's inside. Gulab jambu, Haagen-Dazs is outside. How is it ever going to feel inside? Material is a creation of consciousness. Creation is a lot smaller than the original. Original is the consciousness. Consciousness is creating. Now, when we start bowing down to the material, how is it ever going to help you, give you the satisfaction that you're looking for? That can happen only internally. That's where the inward journey is extremely important. So, what religious people do is they do the acts and think that through these actions I'm going to reach somewhere. And that's more dangerous than you and I doing the acting. Like if I am a Jain Muni and telling you to do the fasting of 10 days or 15 days, my recommendations have a lot of weight. My recommendations go out to 10,000 people of a Jain community. And imagine how much damage I can do. If you do, I can say, okay, well, he thinks this way, I think that way, that's the end of that. I may not necessarily have to believe you. But you, as a credible figure, spreading these things, again, you're making people caught up in these acts that have without any significance or without any long-term benefits. So, you have to be very careful. So, mind wants to eat, and people says, no, I'm going to fast. One part of the mind says, I want to fast. Another part of the mind says, I want to eat. There is a constant struggle going on. One part of the mind is fighting against. It's like right hand fighting with the left hand. You're never going to win. Whoever loses, you are the loser. Whether the right hand wins or the left hand wins. What difference does it make? Either way, you get caught.
Correct.
छुरी तरबूज को काटती है और तरबूज छुरी को काटता है. Either way, तरबूज is going to be cut. The knife falls on the watermelon, or the watermelon falls on the knife. Either way, the watermelon is going to be caught. So we are caught up in thinking that doing some actions we have to come out of that concept.
Pen example याद आई हो.
Yeah, right. Exactly. You have to move your head.
Pen पकड़ा.
Right. You move your head. So we are wearing ourselves out. We've been doing this since we were born. We are doing this thinking that, you have to do this. See, the biggest problem of education in this society is we are told what to think. As soon as the child is born, the parents say, oh, you have to do this. You have to do this. You have to make a living. You have to do this. You have to do this. We are never told how to think. Because thoughts, right? Once the thoughts are given a finite goal, then the thoughts get channelized into that final goal. And once that goal is achieved, everybody says, oh, you did a good job. If one kid becomes a doctor, everybody says, oh yes. If other kid could not do it, he's nothing. And that's unfortunate society that we're living in. Every child has a potential for whatever he is worth. It has to come from inside. And yet we banned our kids to make it think this way, do this and do that and this and that. And the poor kid is caught up right from the childhood. And you know what, why we're doing this? Because we are doing the same thing, what our parents told us. Oh, you have to have a house, you have to have this, you have to have an American dream. All these things are set goals. And that potential to create the multiplicity, the diversity of all the potentials that exist at the consciousness level, it's all garnished. It's like creating a dam and creating a beautiful a lake and having the boating and this and that. Is that what we're looking for? Or the river, mighty river, ultimately ending up in an ocean and having the dance of life? That's the goal of life should be. But we are not, we have stopped becoming spontaneous. We have stopped becoming, so we are going, so because we are told what to think. We are never told how to think. The real thoughts will come out. Mind is a gift from the consciousness. Thoughts will come out only if we know consciousness. Only if we become consciousness. We have to become silence. We have to become our self. And that is the process of meditation. So we have to realize that mind is something that's going to take us to all these places only if we go along with it. So let the mind stay at its own place. The body has to be quiet because, like I said, by